Hey, so I'm going to take a look at the PowerA Fusion wired Pro controller. It has kind of like a subset of the features of other Pro controllers, uh, mainly like the back buttons and adjustable trigger throws. It it is pretty. It has just a kind of on the surface has a nice feel in the hand. It's actually pretty heavy. I don't know if they just stuck a hunk of metal inside of this to give it some nice weight, but it's actually kind of on par. This is a modded Elite Series 1 controller. Um, they're very similar. I'd say the Elite Series 1 with batteries in it feels just a tad bit heavier, but this feels almost the exact same weight, just a little bit lighter. Um, and all the buttons feel nice. The face buttons, they feel like they've got like the rubber membrane with a carbon contact on the back. Versus, I know there are some Pro controllers that have like the little clicky buttons, the tack switches on the inside. This feels more like a standard Xbox controller from the face buttons perspective. Actually, almost the entire front of it feels a lot like just a standard Xbox controller. Where it does differ is the bumpers. I think the bumpers, I feel like they're a better design, at least on the surface. I haven't taken this whole thing apart yet to see what the mechanism on the inside is, but the bumpers are responsive enough. You can hit them pretty much anywhere on the button, and you're gonna get a click out of it. And it from everything that I can see, it looks like they completely deviated from Microsoft's design, where you've got a thin piece of plastic that goes across both shoulder buttons. Because this is actually one piece of plastic for these two buttons, and it's prone to breaking, and then you end up with either the whole bumper just falling out or just rattling around in there, and it's kind of a sloppy mess in my opinion. The the triggers feel pretty standard. Would have been nice if they had a little texture on them or something, but they're fine. We'll take a look at the back real quick. I think, like I said, you've got your trigger depth selector switches there, and a programming button. This allows you to map a face button to one of the back paddles. Hold the button down for 3 seconds, I think. The light will start blinking. You press one of the face buttons, or click a thumbstick, or press a direction, or you press one of those standard buttons, and then you press the button you're trying to map the face button to, and it'll map it, and it'll stop blinking, and then you're done. You can, I think, to deprogram, you just hold it down, and then you press the button that you're trying to deprogram. So I just wanted to add this little section in here because when I was talking about the back paddles earlier, I didn't mention kind of everything that's going on back here. Obviously, they're removable. You can kind of pop these on and off, which is something that the Xbox One Elite controllers can do. I know, like, what is it, scuff back paddles. Everything that I know about them, I believe they're actually, like, screwed onto the controller. So, like, if you wanted to remove them, you actually have to, you can't just pop them on and off willy nilly. But these are, like, magnetically retained, similar to the Elite controllers. But there's also, they kind of went a step further, where this whole kind of module actually pops out, and you can, it has a little blank insert here that lets you give it a nice flush back panel, which kind of, in my opinion, negates the biggest use case for this controller. Other than the back paddles, the only thing that makes this controller really any different than Microsoft's standard Xbox Series or Xbox One controller is the trigger, adjustable trigger throw switches. But these, I mean, they do shorten the length, to varying degrees. But my opinion is, they should really, like, this shortest throw really should only be, it should be half, not even half as far, less than half as far as it already is. If you look at like the Elite Series 2, like that's as far as the short throw works. The long throw is the full range of motion. Short is, if you're doing a shooter, you need, quick trigger pulls. This is what you want. I feel like this kind of missed the mark a little bit. Like you're still like, this has got to be more than twice as far. The travel has to be almost twice as far as what the Elite Series 2 controller is. So it's, if that's what you're looking for, this is an improvement over the regular trigger pull, but it's, nothing that I would spend $30 more for, in my opinion. If I'm trying to play games where I need a hair trigger. But I don't know. I didn't mention this in the main part of the video, but I wanted to come back and make sure that make sure that everybody is aware that this is what how they implemented the rear buttons, and that this is kind of the if you don't want the paddles back here, you don't necessarily have to remove them one by one. You can take the whole thing out and then just play. I guess technically you don't even have to put the cover on it, although you probably don't want to leave the contacts exposed for an extended period of time so they don't get gungy and then stop or not work as well because they get dirty. But that's, I guess one way you could say it's a different profile, where you can either have the back buttons or not have the back buttons, and just kind of play with or without them pretty easily. But I don't know, that was something that I did want to make sure I had included in the video. All right, back to the rest of the video. One of the good things about this, well, I guess it depends on your opinion on wired versus wireless. It is wired only, but the retention mechanism for the cable, it does come with its own cable, which is I didn't measure the length of this thing. It's got to be at least 10 feet, but it has its own kind of end here that fits very snugly into the retention channel there, and it takes all the strain off of the actual electrical plug on the inside, so you shouldn't have to worry about that port ever getting broken in general, unless you use a cord other than theirs and you're just kind of jamming it in there. Then you can't control the lateral or the tension on that port. But this thing's pretty solid. Like you'd have to, the controller's probably going to break before the port breaks. It does have kind of like a throwback to the original Xbox. That's got a breakaway cable, which is kind of funny. I remember my buddy's older brother got an Xbox before all of us did, and he wouldn't let any of us use his Xbox because he would go to work, he would take this part of the cord and prevent anybody from using his Xbox. Cool big bro move right there. And then on the original Xbox, it didn't have USB port. It was a proprietary little port that was really just had all the wiring for USB, but they just changed the shape of it. But anyways, back to this thing. One of the cool things also about this is the thumbsticks are these thumb caps are there. It's not like an Elite controller where you can just pop them on and off like this and then put a new topper onto it. It is, you do like you remove this top panel, which is just magnetically retained on there. But one of the cool things is instead of having to buy like another set of these little thumbsticks, once they kind of like the rubber gets worn down on them and they kind of feel nasty, these just use your standard Xbox One or Series X or whatever thumbstick shells that you can just buy these on eBay or Amazon for like a couple bucks, and you can buy a whole bunch of them. I haven't checked for the prices just recently, but you know, you can get these pretty soon. I mean, as long as you don't take them on and take them off a bunch and wear down this piece of elastic, you should be ship shape that, you know, to replace these if the thumbstick gets kind of worn down and smooth feeling. I know I like it when the thumbsticks have that new kind of, you know, grippy feeling. The rings, there's these anti-friction rings that go around the thumbsticks that I don't know, I don't think they're the best thing. I don't think they're quite as good as the ones on the Elite controllers, but they are replaceable. It comes with a set of green ones in the case, which is kind of, the case is mitsa. I'm not a huge fan of it. It doesn't have a place to put everything that you're not using. You kind of gotta like jam things into, I don't know, it functions, but there isn't like these things. Like I only use 2 of the paddles, so I don't need these ones on the controller at any given point in time. So I don't know, they just kind of flop around in the case, but it does come with extra friction rings that are green. Cool. The case is okay. It's kind of like a plasticky, maybe like a soft plastic or faux leather, I don't know, type of material. But the controller itself feels pretty nice. I don't see any problem with using it for any sort of long-term gaming sessions. It does have a nice grip on the back, similar again to the Elite. Like I feel like a lot of the decision, or a lot of the features they added to this were either inspired by or copying the Elite controllers, the Xbox One Elite controllers. But I feel like for the price of this, which is, if I've got everything right, it's about half the price of the current Elite Series 2 controllers. So for $90, it really has a lot of the features that I think most people look for in a pro style controller. There is no software, there are no profiles, like there isn't like a like you can't like remap, you know, one physical button to another's location. The only thing that's programmable is mapping standard buttons to one of the back buttons, which I think covers like 99% of, you know, the people that are looking to remap buttons. Profiles would be cool, but at the same time, you know, what would that cost to add? It would probably end up bumping the price up out of that $90 price range and end up making it probably not, you know, not as accessible to as many people. I mean, $90 is still a lot for a controller. Time will tell, you know, how long the thumbsticks actually last. I mean, Xbox's track record, at least for me personally, hasn't been the best. I don't know that those Alps thumbsticks are the absolute best in the world. I've replaced a few in my time. I know I've got, you know, I've ordered them in boxes to replace on old controllers that had them worn out. But this is basically the mechanism that, you know, if you've got something that has like stick drift or something, these are what goes bad on the inside. It's usually this little resistor on this side. If it's left and right, it's this one. If it's up and down, it's this one. And those are kind of what you really end up having a problem with. Replacing those is kind of a big pain in the butt because they're soldered in at 14 solder points, and removing them, desoldering them is not a small task. You usually need to be have some amount of soldering experience to actually do it without damaging other stuff on the board. So I think, like, I don't know whether I went into this, but you know, the E-swap, the Thrustmaster E-swap, kind of, like, in my opinion, has kind of the best strategy for dealing with thumbsticks, where you just take the whole thumbstick out, the mechanism and all, and you can pop it in and out, and you can, with that controller, you can actually rearrange them, but you know, that's a feature that's out of the price range of this type of this controller. But I mean, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of experience with PowerA controllers in general. I've kind of avoided them. I've tried to stick with the Microsoft official brand, and I don't know what I've always kind of like viewed them as kind of like the crappy version of the controller, and it's more of like a disposable type controller. Time will tell how this one lasts, but it feels pretty solid, and I think I you know, I'll have to review it or come back in a year, and we'll see if the thumbsticks still work. But that's kind of like the big question mark here, is durability over time. But everything that I've seen so far, it's a solid controller, and it's not going to be, in my opinion, any worse than you know, anything that Microsoft has to offer. But it also has the additional features of rear paddles, which I personally do actually use. But I'm going to stop rambling here. Hope this was an informative video. Take care.